Hello to everyone, welcome back to the Python course. In this video, we're just going to speak about variables and constants in Python. And the important question as the first of the video is here. Why should variables and constants matter to us? The important thing in programming is data. And data is going to be stored in something called data block. And data block is absolutely what we call variables and constants. And mostly we use variables. So variables are the data blocks to store and manage our data. So it matters a lot. And in the first vision, I've brought you guys a sample to see some different variables types. For example, we've got dictionaries, lists, booleans, strings, integers, floats, and a lot other data types. In the next picture, we can see how to create a variable. Here we've got an example. As you guys can see, we have defined a variable called x, assigned a value of 9, which is an integer data type. And here we've got used the assignment operator. Here we can see this is not equal operator. This is assignment operator, and this is the variable name, and this is the variable value. Let's go through the code to seek more in variables and constants. First of all, let's go for the variables. So variables are used to store information and can be referenced and manipulated later. In Python, you can declare a variable simply by assigning a value to it. Unlike other programming languages, Python doesn't require you to declare the data type of variable explicitly. So I've just brought you a sample for you guys. Here you can see we got 3 different variables with 3 different data types. First one is the x, and I have defined its value, the value of my variable, like number 10, which is integer data type. Next, I've defined a variable called name, and this is the variable name. This is assignment operator, and this is the value of my variable called name, which it is in a string format because we've got used a set of single quotes. Next, we've got pi or pi number, which is in float format. Here you can see 3.14 and more. And finally, I'm just gonna print the variables and to see what is gonna be my output looking like. So I just run my cell, and the value of my x variable is 10. Name is Alice, and pi is the pi number. So it is actually working really well, and we've got known how to define our variables. The variables story is not going to be finished here because we've got variables naming rules, and we're just going to go for them one by one. First of all, let's go for this. A variable name must start with a letter or the underscore. Let's give it an example. For example, we've got YouTube. It can be a variable because it is starting with a letter. I'm just gonna go for YouTube, and I'm just gonna define its value a boolean, just like true. And the next one, I'm just gonna go for a variable that starts with an underscore, just like we defined YouTube. And this time, I'm just gonna define its value false. Let's run this, and here we can see that the output it is correct. And finally, let's print both. I'm just gonna print my YouTube and the another YouTube that I have defined to see what is the difference. And these are my 2 variables. I'm just gonna run this, and here you can see the first one is true, which it is working correct, and the second one value it is false. So when we're just gonna use an underscore, is gonna be different here. Next, let's go for the second rule in naming variables. I'm just gonna create a new cell. Second one, it says to us a variable name cannot start with a number. I'm just gonna give it an example, just like 3 YouTube. I'm just gonna define just like a number to it. There is no matter, and there is no special rule, and you can give any value to any variable, I mean the correct variable that you define. For example, I'm just gonna define the value of this variable 12. There is no matter. But as I'm just gonna run this, here you can see I've got invalid syntax error. Why? Because it starts with a number. So we cannot start the variable name using a number. Let's go for the third. A variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore, just like A to Z, 0 to 9, and underscore. Let's give it an example. I'm just going to create a new cell and I'm just going to use kind of like a sign. Let's go for $2 as I'm just going to use assignment value and give it a variable value, just like hello. As I'm just gonna run this, here you can see that we get invalid syntax error. Why? Because we've used something other than the things that are defined here, which are alphanumeric characters, underscores. So this is how this rule actually works. Let's go for the next, which are variable names are case sensitive. Let's give it an example. I'm just going to define two variables here, and here you can see that what is the difference between them. Just like I'm just going to define the first variable name, just like age with small characters, for example 20, and I'm just going to define another variable, but this time using capital words, just like 30. And as I'm just gonna print both of them, we're just gonna go for the age with the small and age with the capital characters. I'm just gonna run these, and here we can see that first one it is 20, but the second one it is 30. So the variables are case sensitive to what we define. Let's go for the last rule, which a variable name cannot be any of the Python keywords. There are some Python keywords just like for, if, elif, else. We're just gonna speak a lot more about this. I'm just gonna comment this line, and I'm just gonna go for creating a new variable using this. For example, else is a keyword. I'm just gonna use it for naming a variable, just like I'm just gonna give the value of true. I'm just gonna run it, and here you can see that we get the invalid syntax error. So we cannot use the Python keywords for naming our variables. This was everything you need to know for variables. Let's go for the constants. So Python constants, however, come by uppercase letters to indicate that a variable should be treated as a constant, and it cannot be changed during the program execution. So there is a big difference between constants and variables, and it is in this line that a variable should be treated as a constant and it cannot be changed during the execution, but the variables could do this. So this is different between constants and variables, and we must use them only and only by using uppercase letter in the full name. For example, I've brought you guys two examples. Gravity, it is 9.8, and speed of light is this number. And when we're just gonna define a constant, we gotta use fully uppercase, and I've just did this, and I'm just gonna print them to see, and here you can see that we get the gravity and the speed of light in the constant format. And finally, let's go for the variable reassignment. You can reassign a new value to a variable in Python at any point in the program. However, constants are not typically reassigned once set. So I've defined the x value here as the first of the program, which it is 10. And as I'm just gonna print the x, here you can see that the value of 10 is still 10. The value of x is still 10. But when we're just gonna change the value of a variable to 20, I'm just gonna change the value of this variable. And in this example, as I've defined the gravity, here you can see that I've defined the gravity number and I've printed it. So as I'm just gonna print it another time, I'm just gonna print gravity. Let me put it in the parentheses and run it. Here you can see that the value of gravity is 9.8. But this time I'm just gonna try to change the value of my constant. I'm just gonna run it, and here you can see that the value of my gravity it is changed, but there is a big difference. Constant shouldn't be reassigned. Python won't preventative involve. So this is something like I don't know, advantage or a disadvantage. And this is not actually recommended to do, but this is something that actually we did in our program to show you guys how this process it could be done. But I just gonna repeat it that this is not recommended, but it is allowed in Python. As a conclusion, variables can be reassigned multiple times during the execution of a program, while constants by convention should retain their value throughout the programmer's lifecycle. It is important to use constants for values that shouldn't be changed and make your code more readable and easier to maintain. So this was everything that you need to know about variables and constants in Python. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe my channel, leave me a comment. Absolutely follow the course, share it with your friends. I wish you guys the greatest time. Stay high.